If your child is a fan of the Bad Guys books, stay tuned. Ahead, I'll talk with the author of the series, Aaron Blabey.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Have you heard of the bad guys? Mr. Wolf, Snake, Shark, Piranha, and Tarantula? Because if you haven't, you're really missing out. Missing out on their totally epic, completely unbelievable, mind-blowingly hilarious adventures through all of space and time. I'm talking saving the day, heavy metal overlords, royal aliens, zombie kittens, and loads of other amazing stuff you've never even seen before. Whew, you've got all of that, right? When the universe needs saving, the bad guys can be the best guys.
Hi, I'm Dan Skinner, and welcome to the Kids Bookshelf. Ahead, I'll talk with Aaron Blabey about the Bad Guys in One Last Thing. It's the 20th and final book in the series. Aaron Blabey is a #1 New York Times best-selling author with around 30 million books in print. He's also the co-executive producer of the Bad Guys movies by DreamWorks Animation. Aaron, welcome to the Kids Bookshelf.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is the end of the road for the Bad Guys. But before we talk about this last book in the series, take us back to the beginning. What was the origin story? What inspired you to write them originally?
The main thing was I've got two kids. They're 16 and 18 now, but the youngest, when he was 6 years old, hated reading so much that it would make him cry. And it was largely the quality of the books he was bringing home from school, those old readers that were just dreary and uninteresting. And I thought, I want to write something that he would find cool. And I thought, what would that be? So I thought about the things I think it's partly where the success of the series came from, is I set about taking things that aren't for kids, but the kids like the look of, and figured out a way to kind of hotwire it for that age group. And and then once the first one took off, I suddenly realized I had an opportunity to do the kind of story that I'd always wanted to do, with scope and a certain level of longevity to it. And it was 2 books a year for 10 years. So yeah, it's been quite the journey, and it's a beautiful thing to have completed it sort of on my own terms, I guess. And because I always knew it was 20 episodes and I always knew the ending. For the last 5 years, I knew how it was going to end. So yeah, it feels very complete.
Is it also a little sad? I mean, these are characters you've worked with for 10 years now.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. But the lovely thing is that because of the movie adaptation, and the second movie's out next year, and it's extraordinary. I saw it the other day. They're living on, not only in the books, but they now have this whole new life there. And I think I spent 10 years alone in my studio with them, and that's an irreplaceable, magical experience, because it was all interlinked with my kids' childhoods. And that's the other thing. My kids, because they're older now, I don't know, it just felt like it was time, because it was the books and their childhoods felt completely interlinked. So it's a beautiful, bittersweet conclusion to a large chapter of my life.
So without giving away any spoilers, can you tell us about the plot of this final book?
It's sort of all spoilers, really, but it is hopefully it is for me anyway. It's up to readers to decide whether this is the same for them, but it is a resolution of any questions that any kid might have. And the lovely thing about it, when you talk about it, is it potentially a little sad? What I really like about the book is that the characters are aware that their story is ending, and they're going through that too, to the conclusion. So yeah, there's perhaps more than the other Bad Guys books, there is a little element of melancholy to the final one, but in a really pleasing way, I think. It is for me anyway.
It felt like a curtain call for these characters.
Yeah,
that you revisited them, gave them a chance to interact with each other one last time.
Yeah, that was the idea. And then again, without giving away a spoiler, I had the idea for that loop ending a long time ago. And I thought that was just a really, because of the time travel nature of the story, I was able to do that thing, which I find really pleasing. And it, I can't say any more, obviously. But yeah, no, it's really cool.
And I hopefully this isn't a spoiler because you've done this throughout a number of your books, and there's homages to different movies. And in this one, even the characters can't resist that this is kind of like Back to the Future, but not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've tried to, I made a great big long list on my whiteboards when I was, especially like all the way back to the beginning, but especially from episode 10. I just listed out everything that I thought about. How could I reference that in a way that is unexpected? And that was part of the game for me, was plotting in little things. And again, a lot of it is stuff that kids would never ordinarily encounter. I'd go, well, I couldn't use that. And then I'd think, well, maybe I can if I make it this, that, and the other. And that was the game for me, is how I could take iconography from, the world of adult movies and somehow make it part of the language for kids, which was such a joy. And because I'm evidently a huge movie buff and always have been, so are my kids. So they would see the references and get all of that stuff too.
I'm talking with Aaron Blabey about the bad guys in One Last Thing, and our conversation will continue. If you're enjoying this discussion, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you know when I post new interviews. And thank you. And the way you write, to me, it's like storyboards for a movie. And so it seems like that makes it an easy is maybe not the right word, but a natural transition for the bad guy to then be on the screen.
It did play out that way quite well. And look, the first movie was sort of loosely based on the first 4 books. And yes, there were things that it's always really pleasing. The sequel is the same, where there's whole sequences that are directly from the books that have been, altered to fit the story of the movie. But yeah, it always felt, the adaptations have felt very true, even if the story is different. The characters, the relationships, and often a number of the gags are, they're just seamlessly meshed. And yeah, and it was never written because, again, 10 years ago, I couldn't give my books away. Nothing had sort of taken off yet. So the last thing on my mind was a big Hollywood adaptation. But it was what I wanted to do, because I loved movies so much, was from the very first book, just do something that I used to think, if I was 7 or 8, what would I think was the coolest thing? And that's where it came from.
And again, not to give away spoilers, but I can tell people that this book kind of comes full circle, and it is a satisfying ending. But like you anticipated in the book, kids are going to say, really, is this the end? But you have to say, yeah. It is.
Yeah, I sort of, that's stated quite heavily at the end too. But yeah, look, that full circle thing you're talking about, I really loved that, and it leaves no question that it's like this sort of perfect circle. No, I love that element of it. I really do.
We talked about the first movie that came out, and there's another movie that's going to come out featuring the bad guys. Tell us about it.
There sure is. The sequel is the big summer movie for DreamWorks in August next year. And I saw the most recent cut the other day, and it's amazing. I think they've topped the first film. And in terms of, and I can't sort of give any details but there's a whole bunch of stuff from like I said, the first movie was sort of loosely elements of books 1 to 4. There's elements of the next couple that creep in, and a bunch of my other characters get introduced this time too, which is really cool.
I was going to say, with more books to draw from, perhaps we'll see another movie yet in the future.
Well, I know that the team working on it would be happy to make these films indefinitely. But yeah, we'll see how the next one goes. But no, we all have high hopes. as an author, I couldn't, like, it's literally best case scenario. I couldn't be happier with the sequel. It's divine.
Well, this is a wrap on the books for The Bad Guys, but you have other books, including Cat on the Run. So will we see more from you?
Well, actually, the final Cat on the Run book is out next year, part 3. It's only a 3-part series. And no, I'm done. This is the Cat on the Run 3, and Bad Guys 20 is the end. Like I said, it felt just like a beautiful little window of time that was, again, all about having raised kids and all that. And yeah, no, it's time to do other stuff, actually. Which is a lovely feeling. It's beautiful to have done something, felt proud of it, gone, yes. And I have no impulse to sort of repeat or try to top it somehow. It just feels done.
So you've teased me a little bit. You said it's time to do something else. If you're stepping into a different creative endeavor, do you have any ideas what that's going to be?
I have spent the last year, because I finished the last 2 books, I finished drawing them about 12 months ago, so it takes a while for them to come out. Now, I've been making music for the last year, and I'm loving it, but I'm also working on the movies too. But yeah, it's just creativity just can transform into different things. So yeah, it's a tremendous feeling of freedom and satisfaction to just be able to explore, whatever, take wherever the muse takes you, really.
Well, congratulations on this chapter of your creativity, and I'm excited to maybe hear something musically from you in the future.
Who knows? Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, it's a very, very satisfying new direction to be exploring, because it's very free and it's very immediate, which I really like too. Books take a long time, whereas music, you can create something in the moment, which I really love.
This final book in the series is The Bad Guys in One Last Thing by Aaron Blabey. Aaron, thank you for talking with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for talking to me.
If you'd like to purchase The Bad Guys in One Last Thing, I've placed a link for you in the description below. If you enjoyed this discussion, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you know when I post new interviews. Meanwhile, here are 2 more books you might find interesting. Thank you for watching this edition of the Kids Bookshelf. I'm Dan Skinner. Until next time, keep sharing the gift of reading.